The Supreme Court has ruled unanimously 9-0 in favor of President Donald Trump and the whole ballot kerfuffle. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the Supreme Court of the United States voting in a unanimous 9-0 decision to keep President Donald Trump on the ballot in 2024, the primary, the presidential, whatever. Now, this ruling was about the Colorado case specifically because Colorado tried to take Trump off the ballot because they said that he was involved in an insurrection, and they were citing the Constitution. And they say, well, look, if you were involved in an insurrection, you're not eligible for the presidency. Therefore, we're going to remove him from the ballot. Now, what the Supreme Court said is, hold on, you guys, as in states, don't have that jurisdiction. You cannot do that at all. It's for Congress to do. Now, we all know that Trump has already been impeached not once but twice and beat both cases. The first case was about Russian election interference. He beat that case. The second one was at the very end of his presidency, maybe even afterward, about January 6th, talking about he incited the riot on J6, and he beat that. So if you beat the case, there's no conviction, there's no nothing that says without a shadow of a doubt that you were involved in the insurrection, then how can anybody, whether it be a state, whether it be Congress, how can anybody take you off the ballot? They can't do it. You know what this was? This was an attempt to discourage voters from coming out and voting. But really, I think it had the opposite effect. I think you're going to galvanize people, Trump supporters, even more by trying to do things like this, because many of us, we see right through it. It's just an attempt to discourage us, keep us at home, to just try and manipulate things in the favor of the opposing party. That's what it is. That whole process didn't work. Now, what I'm going to do right now is take a peek at some of the glorious reactions. Oh, yeah. These reactions from MS-13, DNC, CNN, etc., some of your left-wing people on the Twitter sphere, everywhere else, it's just fantastic. I love the fallout. I love the reactions. Now, let's read your man, Keith Olbermann. How the Mighty Have Fallen. He was great on ESPN probably about 15, 20 years ago. But right now, this guy needs to be in the room with padded walls. But anyway, here's his response. The Supreme Court has betrayed democracy. Its members, including Jackson, Kagan, and Sotomayor, have proved themselves inept at reading comprehension. And collectively, the court, quote unquote, has shown itself to be corrupt and illegitimate. It must be dissolved. Not just the conservative, your, Clarence Thomas, not just them, but everybody. The liberals who they normally love, they got to get out of there too, because the decision is not what they wanted. Funny how that works. Now, let's check out CNN and Dana Bash and see what they're talking about. And of course, I will link to everything in the description. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Look, unfortunately for America, the court isn't necessarily wrong that this is the way the framers wanted it to be.
Unfortunately for America, the court isn't wrong. What does that really mean? Okay, so the court made the right decision. The court's doing the right thing. The court is upholding what they're supposed to uphold, but that's bad for America. Make that make sense.
They wanted Congress, the people who are closest to their constituents, to be able to make the rules and the laws. That doesn't change the fact that because of gerrymandering in the House and all kinds of other issues, they're not doing their job on a lot of these big issues.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, there was already an impeachment. And isn't that a congressional thing? Maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was a congressional thing. They're going to pretty much hold Trump accountable if he did something wrong, and he beat the case. So what are we talking about exactly? You're mad because you didn't get your desired outcome? That's what it sounds like to me. If you guys agree with me, let me know in the comments.
It's very unlikely, close to impossible that Congress will take action. But this is now a fair question that Manu Raju, Melanie Zanona should be asking members of Congress. Mm-hmm. Are you willing to pass legislation that would give us rules for how this works? It could only be in the future, by the way.
But what are we talking about, though? Like, what are you really going to do? Because, again, if we're going to look at the Constitution and it says if you were involved in an insurrection, you are ineligible for the presidency. If that's going to be the standard and we go by that, then we got to have a conviction. We can't just say, well, I think he was, I feel like he was. It doesn't matter if you caught him red-handed doing it, you still got to get a conviction. You can't punish me for a crime that I've not been convicted of. You can accuse me of whatever you want to accuse me of, but your accusation alone is not enough to convict me and punish me. That's not how that works. Let's keep on going here. We got another one. I think this is from MS13DNC, of course. Let's check it out.
News. Thank you for being with us here on MSNBC. The Supreme Court issuing a ruling on the Colorado ballot case. I want to go straight to Ken Delanian, who is outside the Supreme Court with this decision. Ken, what do we know?
Good morning, Anna. We've learned that it was a 9-0 decision ruling that Donald Trump can be on the ballot in Colorado and other states. Justices.
Oh, and let's pause right quick. So this means that the other states that have their actions against Trump are now going to be dropped, I would presume. I saw Illinois, the Cook County judge tried to take Trump off the ballot. And then there was a state issue pending the ruler from a higher court. So the higher court, the Supreme Court, obviously. So now that is going to be done. There was also the Maine attempt from who was that? The speaker, somebody out there in Maine. You guys know what I'm talking about. Sheena Bellows. I think she is the something. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But she tried to do the same thing. So all those cases are going to be dropped now.
During the oral argument, seemed very skeptical of the idea that one state could decide for the nation whether Donald Trump was an insurrectionist and was therefore disqualified under this 150-year-old provision. Now we know that there was not a single justice who held that view. So there were no dissents to this 9-0 decision ruling that Donald Trump can remain on the ballot in Colorado as voters go to the polls tomorrow during Super Tuesday, and also in Maine, where there had been a decision to disqualify him from the ballot. And this ruling, we understand, has the effect of prohibiting other states from attempting to do so. And that really reflects what we heard from both liberal and conservative justices during the oral arguments, Anna. For example, Elena Kagan confronting the plaintiffs, essentially saying, your problem here is that you're arguing that one state can decide for the nation who can be president, and no justice was willing to go along with that.
Right on, right on. That's a very good point to make. And I'm still going to stand on my point. Where's the evidence that he did this? Where's the conviction? Someone can say there's evidence, and that's fine if you believe that. That's totally fine. Okay, but go to court, have a trial, and then get a conviction, and then come back and talk to me. I don't care if you have a mountain of evidence, videotape, a confession. Without a conviction, you have nothing from my point of view. And again, the states, like you said, the states do not have the ability to decide for the entire nation who should and should not be the president. That's not how that's going to work.
And Lisa, you are looking through, we have our Lisa Rubin here with us. As you look through this decision that was just put on the website there at the Supreme Court, what stands out most to you besides the fact that this was a 9-0 decision?
It was a 9-0 decision, Anna, and the decision was decided on the grounds that Congress, not the states, has the power to enforce Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Still, you have 4 justices concurring in the judgment, meaning they agree with the result, but also concurring separately and saying that the way that they disagree with the majority or the per curiam opinion is that they don't feel that they needed to decide that Congress is the exclusive enforcement mechanism. Both Justice Barrett, who is concurring only for herself, and then Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson, concurring separately, say they don't need to decide anything more than this is not a right that belongs to the states. But all 4 of them casting doubt on the idea that the exclusive mechanism of enforcement here is congressionally enacted legislation. That's important because one other way that you could find that someone is disqualified is through, for example, a federal court ruling. Or you could find that someone is an insurrectionist through their criminal liability. So there are a number of different ways that I think these justices.
They're grasping at straws, trying to find whatever they can. They're throwing whatever they can at the wall and seeing what sticks. To break down what she's saying right here, this legalese, lawyer E, she's talking They're trying to find other kind of ways to get him off the ballot, and they are coming up short. Okay, she's leaving the window open for other ways, other possibilities of making this happen, but obviously, as of right now, it's not going to happen.
Justices are raising Section 3 could have been enforced, and yet the per curiam decision says not only does the power not belong to the states, you have to have Congress act affirmatively in order to disqualify someone from the ballot.
And that makes sense. Okay, let's have Congress do it. And again, there was already an impeachment, and he beat it. There was an impeachment for the insurrection, and he beat it. So that was what, 2021. We're 3 years later. What are we talking about? What are we really saying? It's over. It's done. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to the Supreme Court for doing what's right. And shout out to Congress for also doing what was right back in 2021 and not convicting Trump on the first or the second impeachment. Shout out to Colorado, Illinois, Maine, and some of these woke warriors trying to get Trump off the ballot and ultimately failing. I think we all knew it was going to fail. They didn't do anything. They were trying to discourage people that want to vote for Trump, or at least not vote for the other side. They wanted to discourage us from going out there and voting, but it had the opposite effect. And ultimately, their effort just didn't work. It didn't work to discourage us, and it didn't work to get Trump off the ballot, which is the way it was always going to be from the very beginning. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what's happening here with Trump and the ballot and what the Supreme Court did? Again, unanimous 9-0 decision to keep Trump on the ballot in Colorado. Therefore, the entire USA as it relates to the insurrection, quote unquote, insurrection clause. The states don't have the power to enforce that. It'll be up to Congress. Congress is not going to do it because they already impeached him over it and he beat it. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This was a predictable outcome, to say the least. But now we can officially report it and say, okay, the thing that we knew was going to happen from the very beginning, that the result that we knew was going to take place has actually happened. There you have it. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.